Hello and welcome to LendAPI Academy. My name is Kay and this is a quick introduction video to our product studio. LendAPI Academy offers full stack UI product builder that allows any user to be able to build any application or onboarding field directly inside of our platform. So to get started, you simply navigate to our workflow section here and click on the new products, and you'll see we can start building from scratch. We tailor to any sort of financial systems or fintech software out there, but our most common use case is in the lending space. So for anyone that's looking to build a buy now, pay later product, this would be a great way for you to get started. So I'm going to create a buy now, pay later application flow, and in which case I will create an applicant onboarding or a sign up or a application to allow for users to be underwritten through their forms. And on the bottom, you'll see we have an applicant onboarding and a tenant onboarding. An applicant onboarding is mostly utilized for our end users, people who are direct borrowers or consumers in your marketplace, whereas merchants or lead generation companies are mostly utilized in the tenant onboarding. You can create a tenant onboarding system directly here in our product studio as well that allows you to build any sort of intake form to add a broker or a new tenant onto your system. And then of course, once you've selected your product of choice, you can select from a drop-down template here. A drop-down template has a set of pre-designed templates for each of our products, starting with credit cards, personal loans, business loans, personal checking, business checking, custom multi-product mortgage, or point-of-sales mortgage. I'm going to start with a buy now, pay later, which lives in the personal loans section, and I'm going to create a new product here. You'll see once you create a new product with a product name, a product ID is assigned. It allows for LendAPI to internally identify which product is associated with this ID. And when I'm ready, I can simply click on the name of the product or the product ID to get started editing. Because I selected a template, I will be taken to a canvas building block that has pre-designed products, pre-designed applications in here. As an introduction, you'll see here that we have borrow tabs, app details, offer, and bank details. Each of these in the LendAPI system is what we associate as a tab, but as a final user experience, they're actually going to show up more along the lines of individual pages. So to navigate from tab to tab, the user will simply click the continue button. In this canvas-like system, you'll see here we have on the left panel, these are all of the variables or attributes that you can drag into your canvas here. So things such as fields, APR, city, state, or any of these different systems can be dragged in. So let's say I want to drag in a employer name field. I simply have to pick it up from the variable studio and put it into our system here. If at any point you want to delete a field, you simply click on the variable or field that you choose and then click the delete button on the right panel here. And this removes the field from the canvas. Also on the left panel, you'll see next to variables are two other different components you can add. One is widgets. Widgets are internal iframe components within the LendAPI system. And what we mean by that is things such as ID verification, Google GeoPlace, or any sort of internal widgets can be added into the system. So let's say, for example, I want to add in a widget for mobile OTP that sends an two-factor authentication to my mobile number, I can add the widget into the system, and it will show up as a static widget, but in the final user experience, it will actually populate into an actual component. LendAPI offers out-of-the-box widget as well as custom widgets to our enterprise level clients. Widgets act as essentially pre-designed components within the product studio. They can tap into a database or into an API. Then finally, in the last section, we have controls. Controls in the LendAPI system are essentially custom components that you can drag and drop to enhance the experience of your application or intake form. So take, for example, we have such things as checkboxes, labels, rich text editors, or even scroll down buttons. These can be leveraged to fill in your application and make it a better user experience. Finally, when you are ready to create new tabs or navigate through tabs, the best way to go about this is to make sure every time you are editing a tab, after you've finished with one specific tab, you click the Save button before navigating. Otherwise, you may lose your pre-existing work. On the right panel here, you'll see our page properties section. Page properties allows for the users to update the page section altogether. And here you'll see we have such things as header, rules, buttons, and footers. These are done on a page level. So this allows you to customize each field or the page. So if I want to create header backgrounds, I can select a specific color, and you'll see my header background has changed color. I can also change the color of my text on the page. And you'll see the header text has changed. You'll see here, we also have the override progress value. The override progress value controls the progress bar within the LendAPI ecosystem. This allows you to dictate how many steps actually show up in the progress bar. And then of course, navigating below, we have our rules. So the rules section of the page properties controls the backend functionality of each page. So LendAPI is driven by rules, which means that to configure a tab, you have to indicate what happens after the user clicks the continue button. There are 3 different fields that are part of this rules process. The first of which is the initial provider. This initial provider allows you to connect to one of LendAPI's integration partners, such as Plaid, Socure, or Middesk, which runs as soon as the user clicks the continue button. So say, for example, you want to call Plaid. Upon completing this page, you can add Plaid IDV as initial provider, and on the next page, a Plaid IDV will be called when you click continue. Underneath the initial providers is our decision tree matrix. The decision tree allows the users to run decisions on the back end of this particular page. So take, for example, if I want to run a decision tree on the age check or email check or SSN check for this particular page, I can add a decision tree to run. When you add a decision tree, a field will pop up to allow you to indicate what a approved decision would look like. So this will trigger the action. What this means is each decision tree in the LendAPI Rule Studio has to end on an action. So for this action, it means that the PL mortgage decision tree is approved. What should the user experience after this is approved? Should they go to the offer page, or should they continue to the next step? Now, if you do not want to run any decisions on this page, you can simply not enter a decision tree, and you'll see here a next step appears. This is a default experience for each user. This indicates in the LendAPI system what should the user experience when they can click continue, even though there's no decision that runs on the backend. Should I continue to the next step? Should I go to the offer tab? Should I go to the bank details? Or is this the last experience? This is the last page the user experiences. For us, we can navigate to the next step. And then, of course, we do have the manual processing step here. This toggle allows the LendAPI admin to control what happens after this step. So after the step, if I don't want to run any sort of decisioning, but I want to put the user on hold, I can simply toggle on this manual processing step to make sure that this instance happens. So if I were to do so here, I can make sure that the user stays put and cannot proceed forward until I make a decision to move them forward. Anyone that lands in the manual processing step will be automatically triggered back into our agent dashboard. Below we have our buttons. So the buttons tab here allows you to control the continue button functionality. You can change the text of the continue button. You can change the alignment of the continue button. And you can even hide a button if you do not want the users to go forward. This is especially useful for those users that want to leverage a dashboard experience. And then finally, we have a footer content experience here. The footer content allows the users to be able to add footer text into each page. The footer content is driven for each tab specific, meaning that each tab can have their own unique footer. And of course, with any footers, you can change the styling, font, or color of the text. Now, when you're ready to move forward, of course, as always, you have to save your page and then continue to the next side. For anyone that is leveraging this LendAPI product studio and want to make adjustments to each variable specifically, you can do so also here on the right panel. When you click on the variable itself, it changes the page properties to a variable property. You'll notice here that I have clicked on the last name variable, and this right panel here has changed. It allows me to now control the functionality and condition of this variable on a variable level. Meaning I can change the label of this variable. I can put placeholder text. I can put helper text. I can push a default value from a previous tab into this variable. And then I can make it a required or mask the field altogether. Meaning whatever I enter gets masked as a default. And then of course, underneath the content, you have the variable properties here. The variable properties shows you the code name of the variable, the source, and if it's currently active and what kind of variable types it is. If you ever need to add a new variable into this variable library, you can do so from our Model Studio. As a default, any variable that's shown inside a Product Studio must be an user input variable. To understand how to add variables into Model Studio, please check out the Model Studio's video series. Continuing forward, for each variable, we also have condition. So this allows the users to understand how these variables work. LendAPI has a limited amount of out-of-the-box conditions for each variable. So I can indicate something such as zip code to show if and only if a previous variable has been selected. As a default, we set conditions for showing and equal to only show up if there is a list variable type. So if there's a list variable type or a Boolean variable type, this can control any variables below it. And then finally, validation is the last variable control. On this validation tab, it allows the users to set minimum and maximum length for each variable field, input field. So if I need a mobile number to be no minimum length of 10 digits, I can set the minimum length. And of course, I can also send an error message to show up if the user does not enter does not enter at least 10 digits here. The error message utilizes the out-of-the-box LendAPI toast message that appears on the Users tab. So with that, I've went through the basics of our product studio. Please continue this series to learn a little bit more on how to create and utilize Product Studio to its max content. And as always, please subscribe and follow us for more content. Thank you.